Hello, everyone, and welcome to Birth as We Know It. This is a podcast that is dedicated to sharing birth stories and experiences to help normalize and recognize the many different ways that birth unfolds. I am your host, Kiona Nessenbaum. I was inspired to create this podcast from my own experiences in the birth space as a mother, a birth doula, birth assistant, and a student midwife. Unfortunately, I had to take an unexpected hiatus from midwifery school due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm not sure when I'll be able to return. But my experience holding these roles in the birth space and the fact that growing and birthing another human being is remarkable has driven me to create this resource, which gives us an inside perspective as to what pregnancy and birth looks like. I find it really interesting that birth isn't commonly talked about until you or someone around you becomes pregnant. And birth has been a constant necessity since the beginning of time. I think that is something that is worth talking about, especially since the policies and practices around pregnancy and birth are always changing. I also created this podcast with the intention of it being a common ground for those that are interested in birth in any way, whether that be you being pregnant yourself, you supporting a pregnant person, or you just being curious and wanting to learn more about pregnancy and birth. That's why I decided to gather birth experiences from not only the birthing person, but also the other people that are in the birth space. This includes partners, providers, family, and more. I did this because everyone in the birth space during the time of birth is impacted in some way, and hearing their perspective is also important. If this podcast sounds like something you or your loved ones would be interested in, hit subscribe and join me each week to hear the inside perspective of birth as we know it. If you want to share your own birth story or experience on the podcast, head over to KionaNessenbaum.com and fill out the guest request form. So that's KionaNessenbaum.com. You can also explore my website to learn more about me as your host, why I started this podcast, and what you can expect in future episodes. With that said and done, let's head over and listen to my very first episode where I talk about my own personal birth experience with my daughter, Kavina.